Awesome. Hey guys, my name is Kent Rathbun.
Yes.
Are we up and going now? Okay. Hey guys, welcome to Cooking with Kent, man. I mean, here we are in Dallas. It's a little warm out here today, but that's okay. This is super exciting, man, to be doing this for the Dallas Observer. And actually, Jerry, don't we have a list of some other people? This is so cool. We got Miami, we got Denver, Colorado, we got Houston, Texas, Dallas, Texas. We got people from all over the country. I think there's like over 600 people in the room right now. How fun is that?
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the Dallas Observer, we've got the Houston Press, Denver, Westward, and Miami. I'm sorry, and the Miami New Times. And all of this is for the American Heart Association. So let's remember that.
Exactly right. And for those of you who are signed in, thank you so much. For those of you who are here and haven't heard that this is all kind of a benefit for the American Heart Association, please do whatever you can to help that cause. I have to tell you, I'm a person who has a little bit of a heart issue myself. I got a little machine right here that gives me a shock sometimes if I'm out of sync. But I'll tell you what, it's a great organization, and thank you for joining us tonight. So what we thought would be fun tonight would be to do a dish that kind of represents each state. And so the first state we're going to start with is Colorado. And in fact, I just got back from Colorado recently. And, one of the things I see a lot up there is beautiful streams and lakes, and they're all full of trout. And so I thought, what better fish to do would besides a piece of trout. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, a little spicy pecan crusted trout. We're going to saute it on my griddle back here. But we are going to serve it with a charred tomato butter sauce, which we got to do first. We got to at least get it going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cool little grill pan, okay? What I've done here is I've just cored out the tomatoes. And by the way, I think a lot of people have a recipe, so I'm hoping that you guys have done a little prep and are kind of cooking along with me. It'll be a lot of fun if that's the case. I have some shallots here. I have the nice fresh tomatoes. I have a serrano chili, which is kind of the spicy one. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut our tomato in half here, just like that. And then I'm going to just take a little bit of grapeseed oil, and I'm just going to kind of coat everything in the basket, just a little bit of grapeseed oil on the top. The reason I choose grapeseed oil, Jerry, why is that?
Because it has a high burn point.
Well,
It's got a
high smoke point, and a lot of people try to cook with olive oils like this, and sometimes olive oil is not the greatest thing to cook with because it does have a very, very low smoke point, which means that it's going to get sooty, it's going to catch on fire. There's nothing good about it, okay? So we're just going to season up the tomatoes and the chili and the shallots with just a little bit of salt, and I'm also going to use a little bit of my lemon pepper.
Did you say a little bit of salt there, Kent?
Just big tomatoes.
Okay.
Oh, so it starts already. Really? Okay. It starts already. All right, so let me show you what I've done here. I've started the grill up, and we have one side over here that's on super, super hot. And it's going to immediately start to kind of cook and sear and roast these tomatoes. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to get a nice char on this. In fact, a little bit of dark, almost burnt kind of char, that skin will char on the tomatoes. That's not going to be a problem. It actually adds flavor and it deepens the color in the sauce. It's going to be very nice. Okay, so let's move on. While those are roasting, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of clean up my cutting board. And, this is our second virtual class of the day, actually. And I got complimented on how often I clean my station. So now I'm all, I gotta stay with.
You got to keep it up.
Yeah, for sure. So the next thing we got here is we got a little seasoned milk, and all I did with this is just regular milk, and a touch of salt. This is clarified butter, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute because clarified butter is very different than melted butter. Okay, and then this is our pecan crust that I've already made. And what I did with those is I sauteed some chopped pecans in just a little bit of butter, the steak and chop salt, and the barbecue seasoning. So guys, for those of you who are watching and are not in the Dallas area, or the Texas area for that matter, we're going to be using several of my seasonings here, and they're pretty fine. I have to tell you, I'm very proud of them. We use them in all of our cooking, and I think you should too. And if you don't know how to get them, if you're here in Dallas or even Houston, you can get them at Central Market, or you can check out my website at chefkentrathman.com and order up. There's 4 different types. We have a steak and chop salt, a lemon pepper garlic salt, we have a barbecue rub, and then we have the sticky pig, which is sort of a barbecue rub for pork. It's got a little extra sugar in it, and it's super tasty, and we're going to sort of be using all of those tonight. Okay, so once again, let me go over the pecan crust. Just chopped pecans. We sauteed them real quick in a little bit of whole butter and seasoned them with my steak and chop salt and the barbecue rub. And then we pulled them out. We let them kind of hang out just a little bit, and then we put them on a pan and we roasted them in an oven until they started to get a little golden brown. And that is our crust. And so you can see that, you know, they got a great flavor and they're super tasty. And so we're just going to use those in just a second for our trout. Now, while he's showing you that, I'm going to grab the trout out of the fridge. So, guys, this is a beautiful, beautiful trout. And let me show you what we're going to do with this. Basically, I'm just going to open these guys up. And I don't know, most people don't realize that trout is really a very beautiful, delicate fish. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to actually serve this with the skin on. And I love it like that. It's just going to be super tasty. So all we're going to do here is we're going to take these nice pieces and we're going to cut them in about maybe 2 pieces, right like this. All right, and we're going to give us a nice little cut. It's kind of like that. We're going to cut on the bias. Got a nice little cut. We're going to dip them into the seasoned milk. Okay, and this is definitely something I learned from my grandmother. My grandmother used to cook a lot of catfish, used to cook a lot of fish in general, trout as well. She would almost always soak her fish in a little seasoned milk. And so I've never really gotten away from it. I kind of dig it. It's super tasty. And I think that you should try this, okay?
Grandmas usually know best.
Grandmas know best. So again, there's only just a little bit of milk in here and some salt, and that's it, okay? So I have some butter here for our butter sauce. We've got our tomatoes roasting, so we're going to take a peek at those in a second. But I want to go back to the whole clarified butter thing. So, Jerry, do you know the difference between melted and clarified butter?
You know, I don't know that I truthfully know the difference between both of those.
You know, it's interesting because I think a lot of people would probably say that. Clarified butter is, I mean, the easy answer to that is it's clarified. I know. I had to do it, man. It's you know, it's happy hour, right? By the way, I hope you all are having some sort of cocktail or something because I'm doing it. It's a little hot here in Texas. So clarified butter is a process where we cook the butter, we melt it down, and we cook it for a period of time where all the milk fats and the liquid kind of separates from the butter. And what you end up with is you end up with 3 layers in the pot. You end up with this foamy stuff on the top, which, by the way, is super delicious, but it's not so great to cook with because it burns really fast, but it's fantastic to kind of put on vegetables, whether it's, you know, asparagus, zucchini, potatoes, whatever. In the middle is this amber oil, that is the clarified butter. And then at the bottom is kind of these white little milky looking things that are kind of floating around in some water. And those are the milk solids that you don't want to put into your clarified butter. So as you're pouring it off, you want to pour off just the amber oil and throw away the water because the water doesn't cook well. It burns, okay? So this is our clarified butter, all right? We're going to cook on the griddle back here today instead of a saute pan. But let's check and see. Well, first of all, let me get my sauce going here. So we have a little burner here, and we are going to, there we go. we're going to put just a little bit of clarified butter into this saucepan because I have a little bit of garlic that I didn't choose to put onto the grill. So I'm just going to put a little bit of clarified butter in the bottom here, and then I'm going to add my garlic, okay? And as this heats up, this garlic is going to start to kind of saute. And so we have a charred tomato butter going here, so the one thing that we don't worry about too much is if we start to brown the garlic a little bit, that's okay. We don't want to burn it, but caramelizing it is fine because we would have kind of caramelized the garlic on the grill as well. So instead of that, we're going to saute it in a pan, and it's cooking away. Let me take a peek at our tomatoes here.
Hey, Kent, while you're looking at those tomatoes, would ghee in a jar be the same as clarified butter?
Ghee.
Ghee?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so ghee is clarified butter.
It's the same thing.
Same thing. Absolutely.
I didn't know how to say that.
So look at here. Starting to get some, oh yeah, and we're starting to get some color on these. Look at how pretty that is. We want to get everything kind of charred up here. All right. So kind of shake that up. By the way, Scott, take a peek here, man. Just so you guys know, I have a little wood chip holder in here. So not only are we using a gas grill, but we're also getting a little bit of smoke coming out of there from our wood chips in our chip holder. And this is sort of a way for us to kind of get some nice smoke flavor in a gas grill when you don't have any charcoal or wood going in it. You put the wood in. You put the wood in one of these guys. You can just use any kind of wood chip you want. In our case, we have a little bit of apple wood in here, touch of hickory, and then this heats up, starts to smolder the wood. Pretty soon you got smoke. So then you're doing not only a charred tomato butter, but you're smoking the tomatoes as well, okay? So I hope some of you are cooking, I really do, because this garlic is smelling pretty awesome. Jerry, what other questions? Any other questions out there?
No, that's really the only question I've seen so far. Everybody appears to be having cocktails, though. We've got some cheers going on, so I think we're having some cocktails.
Yeah.
Wonder if they're having any red mare wine, though.
Well, you know what? We have some red mare wine, and this Jim Striegel is a good friend of mine. He's also a Dallasite that owns a beautiful winery called Red Mare, and so this is some fantastic wines. For this dish, I kind of chose the Sauvignon Blanc, and it's nice and chilled and delicious and appley and just fantastic. So it's good stuff. Okay, so my garlic now is starting to kind of saute a little bit, so I'm going to turn this down because I don't want to burn it. I think I'm going to get a little bit, well, you know what? I'm going to get a little bit of his wine because the recipe does call for some wine. So we're going to start this, and now we're going to start a reduction. Okay, so we've sauteed some garlic in a little bit of clarified butter. We've got it a little bit toasty. We got our tomatoes, our serrano, we got our shallots in the grill. They're getting ready to be done. We've added a little bit of wine to the garlic, and now we're starting a reduction, which means that we're going to reduce that wine so that it gets really, really flavorful and starts to kind of thicken a bit. And we want to reduce it away until it gets to kind of be almost like a syrup, okay? Then I have some heavy cream. Can't do butter sauce without heavy cream. Well, you can, but
it's not as good.
Well,
it just isn't.
I mean, come on. How can it be as good? Let me check my tomatoes here.
Hey, Kent, where did you get your trout?
Trout is from Colorado. Absolutely. I mean, this is a Colorado farm that we buy from, and I don't remember the name actually, but our purveyors give us a nice selection of trout there. Fantastic.
Hey, Scott, could you get in real close so they can see some of the garlic before he gets all those tomatoes on there?
Oh, yeah, it's kind of toasty. I'll put the tomatoes on the edge. So now we have this this fantastic charred shallot, charred tomato, and charred serrano pepper here. Okay.
And for those of you wondering what the garlic looks like, it smells fabulous.
Yeah, pretty tasty. Okay, so by the way, did I say that I was just in Colorado? And what a beautiful state! I tell you, I love being down there or up there for sure.
Could you have done the tomatoes on the smoker?
You could. Then you'd have a smoked tomato butter sauce.
A smoked charred tomato.
Okay, I'm gonna have to. Whew, it is hot. I tell you, the earlier class we had a little fan going, I can feel that it's not on now. That's a problem. All right, so now, Scott, if you want to kind of come up here, take a little peek in the pot. Let me move my pineapple out of the way. But now you can kind of see this cooking, okay? And what we're going to do here now is we're making this reduction with the wine. And man, this smells so good, doesn't it? I mean, I'm going to also add just a tiny bit of salt here. Okay. Now to finish this off, I have a Vitamix blender. So once this gets to a point where all those tomatoes and shallots are sort of softened up a little bit, and we're starting to get reduced and we don't have a whole lot of liquid, we're going to take this and we're going to puree it in a blender. We're going to put it back in the pot. We're going to add a little cream to it. We're going to continue cooking it on a really low temp. We're going to kind of simmer it. And then as the cream thickens, what we're going to do is we're going to mix in a little bit of butter. Okay, so that's going to be step next. Okay. Jerry.
Hey, Kent.
Any questions? What's going on?
I have one.
Yeah.
What is your favorite wood smoker? What do you like for a wood smoker?
Oh man, this is when we need the picture of my rig to flash up on the screen.
We do.
You know, it's funny that you asked because I use a Brinkman smoker. Years ago, I was doing the first taste of the NFL here in Dallas. I actually represent the Dallas Cowboys every year at the Super Bowl at the Taste of the NFL, which is super fun. And it's an event for the Hunger Links of America. And back in the day, they started asking local chefs or the chef of each city to do their own local events, which we did. So we had our first Taste the NFL here in Dallas, and there was a gentleman by the name of Baxter Brinkman who owned a company called Brinkman Smokers and Grills. And at the time, it was one of the number one grills and smokers sold at Home Depot all over the world. And so I said to him, I said, "Hey Baxter, would you mind providing smokers for all my, chefs coming in for this event?" He said, "Of course, I'd be happy to do that." And so not only did he do it, but then he said, I'm going to have a special piece for you. So he built an 18-foot trailer smoker that I still use today, 20 years later, for our new curbside barbecue.
That's beautiful.
And but I tell you, there's lots of good rigs out there, and I have to say, man, smoking meats. There's a lot of know-how that needs to happen there. Okay, all right, so we got our reduction going pretty well here. Okay, so we're getting pretty thick here. I'm going to go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull our blender down here, and I am going to pour this in carefully, just like that. Okay, and I'm so happy to tell you that I have a clean pot. I'm going to put this in. So now I'm going to turn down my fire. I'm going to put on a clean pot, and I'm going to take a little bit of our cream, and I'm going to go ahead and start getting it kind of cooking while I blend the tomatoes. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring this up to a boil, and so a butter sauce has to have a little bit of cream to kind of keep the butter from breaking. Okay, and so a lot of people are probably going, well, can we do this with milk? Can we do it with half and half? Do we have to use cream? You sort of do. And so to be able to get it to hold, you really need to do that. Now there are butter sauces that we call sort of made to the moment. We call that a la minute, but they're not very stable, and you really need to know what you're doing to do it. And if you kind of put your eggs in one basket on a night where you're doing a big dinner party, and your sauce breaks, not so good, So little cream helps hold it. It's the way to go. So I have a little butter right here. We're going to do one stick for this because I'm not cooking as much as the recipe calls for right now. Now, while we're doing that, we have. Let me go ahead and blend our puree here real quick. Oh, by the way, always put a towel over the blender. Always. This is sort of a rule I never break, okay? And you don't want to repaint your ceiling. right, now we have a nice puree here. Let me smell how that smells. Oh my gosh. Woo.
I can smell it over here. It
that's
smells
Serrano
really
chili.
good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you guys down in Florida, I don't know, man. Maybe half a Serrano. I don't know. What do you think? Colorado, half a Serrano?
Yeah, the other states. Texas can deal with it.
Okay, so I'm kidding, guys. So I got the cream reducing. It's starting to kind of reduce now. It's probably not quite halfway there, but I'm going to go ahead and add our tomatoes anyway. And so we're going to put our tomato puree in here, just like this. All right. And then I'm going to set this right over here.
So Kent,
yeah,
how much cream, and heavy whipping or regular cream?
Heavy whipping for sure.
Okay.
And you know, I'm going to use 1 stick of butter. I used 1/2 of a pint of heavy whipping cream to, you know, what did I have? 4 whole tomatoes. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to end up with 2 cups of sauce here. Perfect. I mean, like literally perfect amount for, you know, for this recipe. Okay, so check it out. Let's.
We just have a comment for Texans 4 peppers.
Texas 4 peppers.
Mm-hmm.
They want more peppers.
4 peppers for Texas.
Got it. Okay.
I think that's a little bit crazy.
Well, I can tell you that Serrano that we just laid in there, that would be crazy. Okay, so now I'm going to just dip our trout right in here.
And Arizona can handle more peppers too. That's what we've been saying. Arizona can handle it too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I turn this down to a simmer because we want to reduce this, but we want to just simmer it and keep it going. We're also going to add just a little bit of cilantro stem in the bottom here. Okay, and this is going to give us a nice little flavor. So this is going. And then what's going to end up happening is I'm going to strain this, okay? So that's what we're going to do here in a minute. But for now, let me go cook some trout. So I have a griddle back here that probably 350, something like that. It could be a saute pan. It could be a cast iron pan. It can be a flat griddle like this. I'm just going to put a little bit of my clarified butter on.
Could you do it in the oven if you had to?
You could. You could do it in the oven. Yeah, that'd be a nice little fix.
And this is
check it out. That's what we want to do there. We just want to get a nice little crust on there, just like that. And awesome. Okay, so we're just going to let that cook for just a second. Now, Jerry, while that's cooking, I want to go ahead and finish our butter sauce, and I want to answer any questions that we might have. Anything else coming up?
Well, one question that I missed, and I'm just getting back to, is they wanted to know about the little smoker that you have on your grill right now.
Okay.
Like what brand that was, or if you have one that you like better.
This guy right here?
Yeah.
You're talking about that?
Yeah.
So this is a Lynx. Lynx. I'm a chef for the Lynx company. There are 5 of us across the country, and we help promote their products. We help do recipes. We help R&D the products that they make, and it's just a great relationship. And so that is provided to me by Lynx, and it's just a little chamber that you fill up with some sort of wood chip, and you can choose whatever you want. You set it on the grill, and then the grill just does its thing, and it starts to heat up the chamber. The chamber starts to heat up the wood starts to smolder. Voila, you got smoke. That's how fast that happens. Okay, so Scott, I'm going to have you come back and take a peek at our trout on the grill while I start to add the butter. So we're going to add a little bit of butter, and we're going to stir as we add. Now, Jerry, you know, another tip on butter sauces is to always continually stir when you're adding the butter. Otherwise, if you just put the butter in and walk away, the butter doesn't melt the same. You need to move it around the pot so that it stays moving, and so it starts to kind of cream out in the sauce as opposed to just melting into oil. Okay, so you want to stir it in and keep it going until it's all melted in and stays really nice and creamy. All right.
Which side did you put the pecans on? Both sides, or skin side? Or
I only put the pecans on the meat side. You could certainly do both if you want. I I don't know why it is. I like that skin kind of crispy. So once we turn it, that skin is going to get nice and crisp, and it's going to be really beautiful. So if you decide that you want them on both sides, no problem.
That's those smoked chips. You don't have to soak them first, do you?
You don't have to, but if you do soak them first, they tend to last a little bit longer, and they don't have, they don't burn up so quick. The other benefit of that is you're also throwing a little bit of steam into the grill, which is never a bad thing. If you have a little moisture coming in there, it's not a bad thing at all. Okay. All right, guys. So here's what we're going to do. I have a nice little plate right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our butter sauce, and I have a strainer right here. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back. This is kind of crazy because I think I forgot to bring my pan out here. So I'm going to strain my sauce right into this tray, which is not something every chef would do. But hey,
You're not
I'm
every
out
chef.
here. The pan's in there. I don't know. What can I tell you? How many people do we have on right now, Jerry? Can you tell?
I cannot.
Be interested to know, man. I know that there was like 600 or so signed up. I mean, how cool is that? So we're just going to strain this through a little strainer. If you have a chinois at home, that's what I would use. I just chose this because I feel like a lot of people do not have a chinois. And if you have a really nice kind of fine mesh strainer, that's what you're going to want to use, okay? Good news is I don't need all this butter sauce, so I'm going to kind of put the rest of it back in here. Get my spoon, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to lay our sauce right out here on our plate. Look at that color. So now this is a smoked tomato butter sauce, charred, very nice, okay? I think the other thing that I probably want to do here is I'm going to add just a little bit of lime juice to this, okay? And it's in there just like that. Let me go turn our fish here. Okay, I got my fish spatula somewhere. Where'd I go?
So you can answer this for Dallas, but maybe you can answer this for some of the other cities that are watching. Where's your favorite place? Where do you think's the best place to get fresh fish? I know one of your favorite places in Dallas. So
to get fresh fish?
Uh-huh.
Well, Dallas and Houston both have central markets. And central markets I'm a big fan of. As I said, you can buy my product in Central Market, or you could buy it on my website at chefkentrathman.com. But the more important thing is they have a really awesome fish market. They have really great things. They're really fresh. There's a lot of people that buy there, which is what you want in a fish market. You want to be able to get fish that move quickly, right? All right. So Jerry, how far are we into this thing? I need to kind of make a move here and get on to our next recipe.
We got about 30 minutes in, so you probably need to
heat it up.
go a little bit quicker.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's about 153, 154 people, but then some people have chimed in that there's 2 and 3 people watching together. So,
got it.
So
a little
it
party.
could be
A little cooking class
hopefully
party.
they're social distance.
I like it.
Hopefully they're social distance.
Well, that's cool. Okay. So we're going to put our plate right here. And then I'm going to kind of I just turned the fish. You want to take another peek at this. Look at how beautiful this looks. The thing about the trout is it doesn't take long. I mean, it's a fast cook. It's only about a 1/4 inch thick, so it's quick, right?
When you toast your pecans, you toast them whole, then chop them, or do you chop them and then toast them?
I chopped these and then I sauteed them in the butter, and then I toasted them after I put the seasoning on, and that worked out really, really well. Okay, so while this is finishing up, I am going to kind of get set up for my next recipe, which is going to be from the great state of Florida. Jerry, I know that you were down on the Gulf Coast this last week for your vacation, right?
I was.
So, have you ever been in the Caribbean?
I have, but
Yeah.
it's been a long time, actually.
So, I almost took a job down there at Canoe Bay. I don't know if you know that. It's on St. John's.
I'm glad
cool
you did.
hotel. Yeah. What's that?
I'm glad you're here instead.
Yeah, well, I am too. But anyway, I spent a little time down there, and I have to tell you, man, I love the Caribbean. I love Caribbean food. So what we're going to do next is a piece of snapper. Let me get my trout over here. I'm going to just lay this right here on the, oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to have to say, that's looking pretty tasty right there. I kind of want to eat some of that, actually. All right. Now, the only thing I'm going to do to finish this with, I'm going to take a little bit of my wild garlic Falk salt, and I'm just going to kind of scrunch it up over the top of that, and there we go. Okay. All right. So now, let me get my next tray up here. This is the beauty of doing things live. You get to see me kind of make a move here to do some different things. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our little relish, because while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and make the marinade for the snapper. All right, so I want to show you what I have here. So once again, I have a nice array of some beautiful vegetables. Okay, and this is a grilled pineapple pico de gallo. So I want to kind of start by showing you what I have here. I'm going to set this to the side here. I think I need a bigger table for these multiple recipe classes, you know. Whew, it's hot. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do here is we are going to, I think I'll skip that for now. We're going to cut our pineapple, and we're going to get this thing ready to put on the grill. Ooh. Okay. That is not the prettiest pineapple I've ever seen. All right, so we're going to just cut down the side here just like this. All right, we're going to get that out of the way. And we're just going to cut nice slices of this pineapple, and a little more than a 1/4 inch thick maybe. And we're just going to cut them just like this. All right. And then I'm going to go into the bowl here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take just a tiny bit of the grapeseed oil, all right? And we're going to oil these just a tiny bit. And I am going to use just a little bit of sea salt just to put on here. And make sure these are coated really nice, just like this. And then we're going to put these on the grill, okay? Jerry, have you ever had grilled pineapple?
I have. I love grilled pineapple.
So delicious, isn't it? You know, that grill just makes the pineapple and the sugars in the pineapple.
It just brings out the flavor.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
Like crazy. I think it's delicious.
Really nice. All right, so here we go. Let me get these on the grill.
I like putting a little like pepper or something on it, like something spicy.
All right, we're gonna make sure we scrape our grill really good. Okay, and we're gonna just lay these right down on the top, just like that. All right. There we go. All right, now.
So we have a couple people a little confused.
Okay.
Wanting to know what all the sauces go with what. So the charred tomato sauce went with the trout.
Right.
Have it right there.
Got it.
And now we're getting ready to make a pico de gallo to go with the snapper.
Exactly. Exactly. But first, before we do that, we're going to make our little marinade for the snapper. All right, so while the pineapple's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and get this going here. So let me tell you what I have here. I have a little bit of Malabar spinach from my garden. I have some fresh cilantro. I have a couple of Scotch bonnet or habanero type of chilies. They're very hot, by the way. And we're going to use that.
Kenny, you going to leave the core in the pineapple?
Yeah, I did. In fact, I probably will just dice right through that. You know, it softens up on the grill. It's fine, no problem. Okay, so this is a quick marinade. What we're going to do here, we're going to put this into the blender. We're going to use a little grapeseed oil. I cannot believe how hot it is out here. All right. So now I will tell you that where I was making the joke about the peppers earlier, one of these is enough. In fact, I'm not even going to use one. I'm going to use about 3/4 of one, okay? So that's going in. So we have grapeseed oil. We have a little bit of garlic right here. We have shallots that's going in, okay? And that's going in our blender, okay? And then we're going to go to fresh cilantro, all right? And we're going to use a little bit of Malabar spinach. And this can be regular spinach, but the only reason I choose the spinach, these poor little wilted leaves, I'm telling you
I know the answer to that.
They're kind of wilted like me. I'm very hot right now. So we're adding the spinach. Why is that, Jerry?
For color.
For color.
Beautiful
exactly
green
right.
color.
That's exactly right. All right, so then we're going to use just a little bit of my chopped salt in here, okay? And then we're going to use lime juice, all right? And we're going to put the lime juice right in here. And remember, the main thing in this is the habanero. Like, it's a very hot pepper, and we've used not full one, but nearly a full one. We're going to have a lot of heat here, okay? So this is going to marinate for our fish.
Seeds and all, correct?
What's that?
You just threw the whole thing in there, didn't you? The seeds and
all?
all?
No, I cut the stem and some of the seeds out, and then I went back and did the whole rest of it. All right, so let's see how we're looking on our pineapple. Oh yeah, nice color. We want those charred marks on there. That's going to give us a nice flavor and a nice look in there. So see how pretty that looks? All right, now I want to talk about everything else that goes in the relish, okay? So we got pepper. I want to show my trick on the pepper. Is that cool? So let me get the bowl here. We're going to go back into the same pineapple bowl. Red onion. That's in our recipe. All right, nice dice. Nice dice of yellow pepper. Just like that. And then we're going to do a little pepper demonstration here, okay? Get some of this stuff out of my way. All right, now, check this out. So we talk about a diced pepper. So this is the technique, right? So how do we get a round pepper to a place where we can square it up and dice it? First thing we're going to do is trim off both ends, just like this. So now we have a flat side on both ends. Then we're going to take the pepper and we're just going to push our knife down flat against the cutting board, and we're going to roll this thing out just like that. Look at that. And we're going to cut that seed pod right on out of the pepper. And we're going to get rid of it. So no seeds, no nothing. It's just all gone. Now, we do want this small dice, so I'm actually going to kind of shave this out even further. And all I'm doing is really pressing down very hard against the pepper on the cutting board, and I'm giving that just a nice little flat surface, and we're just shaving a little bit more out so that we have a smaller dice. Okay. Man, it is hot.
Hey, Kemp, for the marinade that we're making over there.
Yeah.
For these people that can't handle the heat.
Okay.
They could put a less hot pepper or not
sure.
even a pepper at all, right? They could.
Absolutely.
It doesn't even need the heat.
Absolutely. No, you could use a jalapeno. You could use something like a Fresno or anything that you want to use that maybe not is going to be so hot. I mean, it's no problem at all. So what we're doing here is we just we julienne that little sheet, and then we're going to do a nice little dice just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and add that to my deal here. All right. Now we have that coming together. Now let me get some pineapple off the grill. Man, this smells great. Can you smell this pineapple?
It smells and it looks fabulous.
Yeah, pretty tasty. All right, now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to stack about 2 high. Okay. And we have a nice grilled pineapple. By the way, I did a dessert not long ago with grilled pineapple. It was fantastic. Worked out really good. It was kind of a grilled pineapple upside down cake.
Nice.
Started out with this kind of deal and then, just turned it into a really nice cake. So we're going to do a nice dice right here, okay? And yes, it's hot. Just like that. Now, by the way, you could serve this warm, actually. This could be a warm relish. I would say I would probably rather see it served chilled, but no problem if you wanted to serve it fresh off the grill like this. In fact, it might be quite nice to serve with any kind of fish. Okay, so nice dice on the pineapple, right? Just like that. All right. And then I think I have enough, so I'm going to skip this.
So, Kent, other than grapeseed oil, what other oils have high burn point?
Peanut oil is another oil I suggest all the time, and canola oil. I mean, all three of these oils cook really well at high temperatures. In fact, it's most of the time what we suggest anybody should use if they're going to saute a piece of fish, saute a scallop, piece of meat, whatever. Use something that's got a high heat tolerance and something that you can put into a super hot pan and then sear that piece of fish or sear that scallop or sear that piece of meat. Very, very nice. Okay. So now I'm going to add just a little cilantro stem. Here, you know how I like to use my cilantro stems.
I do. A little bit better texture, flavor.
Nice texture.
You gonna put any of the leaves at all in there this time, though?
Yeah, I think
just
so.
For some visual.
No, we're going to do it. Yeah, we're going to do it. So we got nice cilantro stems and some nice chopped cilantro. All right. Not sure what that was, but I don't know if you guys heard that. All right, so we're just going to chop this up. This can be just coarse chopped. In fact, a lot of times I'll just pick whole leaves and put it into relishes like this. Okay. All right, so now we have our relish almost finished. I'm going to add just a bit of fresh orange juice right here, just like that. And I'm going to add a little bit more fresh lime. All right, so we got lime juice right here. Okay. And what am I missing? I think I got a jalapeno over here, but you know what? I'm going to skip the jalapeno here because I think that habanero is going to be pretty hot. Speaking of that, let's get to our marinade because it's next, okay? We're just going to come over here and blend this up. All right, now let me get my piece of snapper out of the fridge.
Can that pineapple be done on the stovetop, like in a pan?
It can. In fact, if you took that and kind of seared it into a cast iron skillet, maybe just a tiny bit of butter in it, oh my gosh, it'd be fantastic. Just caramelize it, let it get really nice and brown in there. It'll be delicious.
And is grapeseed oil, does it add any flavor to a dish? I mean, is there...
No, in fact, that's one of the reasons why I kind of choose the grapeseed or the canola or the peanut oil, because they're all pretty neutral flavored. And it really gives you an opportunity to use these oils without affecting the flavor, but you can really do some high temperature sauteing. It works really great on the grills as well. It is hot out here, guys. I hope everybody's, I know these people in Denver, they're probably like, what is wrong with this guy, man? We're in Texas. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, I'm going to set this over here for just a moment. I'm going to take my pineapple pan. And now we have a nice piece of skin-on red snapper. By the way, this could be grouper for sure. Any kind of fish, really. I mean, shrimp, this would be fantastic on shrimp, Caribbean lobster, grouper, swordfish, anything like that. Nice piece of tuna would be fantastic. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we're just going to put a little bit of marinade on there, okay? And we're just going to kind of get right to this, okay? So we're going to kind of just get all this on both sides, really nice. By the way, I don't know if you could tell, but I took the skin and we kind of scored the skin. Do you know why we do that, Jared?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so if you use a skin on fish and you score it, it tends not to tighten up. So if you use a piece of fish with the skin on it and you don't score it, the fish will tighten up and it'll curl the fish like this, and it becomes very hard for you to cook it. If you score it, then it doesn't tend to curl as much and it makes a nicer presentation, okay? All right, so now, what do you think? Let's, I'm thinking about a little lemon pepper here, which I have actually right here. So we're gonna use a little bit of my lemon pepper on both sides. All right, so now we have our habanero marinade right here, just like that, okay? And then I'm gonna show you one other trick before I go on here with the fish. I'm gonna use a clean paper towel, okay? What we're gonna do here, I really feel like I need to wipe my face with this, but instead, I'm gonna put a little bit of oil on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to let this oil soak into this piece of paper. I'm going to turn it just like this, and I'm going to oil the grill real quick, okay? So we're going to clean it from our pineapples, and then we're going to oil it real nice so it's ready to go for our snapper. All right, so just stay right there, Scott. I'm coming back. So we're going to start here with snapper on the pretty side down first, and we're just going to let that go. All right, so Jerry, while the fish is cooking, do we have any questions while I kind of tidy up my area here?
Well, we do have a question about your knives.
Okay.
What kind of knife are you using?
You know, I'm glad somebody asked. These are knives made by a company called Chroma, and Chroma has this knife that is designed by Porsche, okay? And these knives, 100% stainless steel. They have this handle that kind of flattens out on them, which I think is fantastic. You can hold it really nice. If it gets a little slippery, you still got a pretty good grip. And these little ball bearing things here are kind of there so that you know where to kind of grasp the blade, right? And a lot of people don't know. It's definitely important to know where where you should hold the knife. It's just like using a baseball bat. I mean, if you don't choke up properly, and if it's too far one direction, you can't hit the ball, right? So we want to have that knife in a good place. So designed by Porsche, built by Chroma, sold by
Chef Kent Rathbun.
ChefKentRathbun.com. Okay. That was so terrible, man. Nice
I like the base.
Nice placement though.
I like the baseball reference, considering the season just got underway.
Hey,
finally, we have baseball.
So happy to have some sports now. Oh my gosh.
So,
okay. So guys, what we're going to do here is we're going to put just a little bit of our relish. And by the way, because the pineapple was a little bit warm, now we're starting to get some nice juice out of here, which I think is nice. I am using a perforated spoon so we don't get too much on the plate, because we don't want to mess up the plate with too much juice. But man, I tell you, this stuff is smelling and looking great. Look at how pretty that is. Okay. All right. So again, and this is if you're into the jerk seasonings from Jamaica, jerk pork, jerk chicken. Oh my gosh, this would be fantastic too, right? I mean, super nice. All right, let's see how our fish is doing.
how long did you cook the trout, Kent? I mean, what? Not even 5 minutes, I don't think.
Oh, no. The trout was very fast. But look at this snapper. Same thing. Snapper is going very quick.
And you went fish side down, right? Not skin side down first.
Fish side down first. And the reason we do that is because we cleaned the grill really nice and we oiled it. We're going to serve the fish. Actually, you could serve it either way. I mean, we serve the fish skin side up. We serve the fish skin side down. Sometimes it just kind of depends. If you're searing the fish, I think it's always nice to weight it skin side down first and get that skin super, super crisp. It really makes a nice addition to the dish. Okay, so we're going to move this out of the way. I'm going to let my my snapper cook here a bit. And let me get kind of cleaned up here. Jerry, while I'm kind of getting things out of my way, are there any other questions we can talk about?
I don't have there's a lot of back and forth, but since the knife question, we haven't really had a new.
Okay.
Oh, wait, just a second.
Hold it.
Can you make the relish ahead of time, like a day before?
For sure. Absolutely, you can make the relish a day ahead.
And then how long would it last?
I probably would want to use this within 2 or 3 days. I don't think that's something that you want to keep hanging around.
Well, you got the acid and you got the juices and stuff in there. It's a little.
Exactly right. The acid itself will become a problem. Okay, and you don't want it to sit and marinate too long because the acid will start to cook everything in there. Everything will get kind of soft. It gets too juicy. I think you need to make this and use it. That's kind of the thing that you want to do.
And this is one of my favorite questions.
Yeah.
Do you have a technique or a way that you tell when a fish is done?
Well, so I do, but first let's talk about the idea that not all fish are created equal. And the steak is so heavy, I can't believe it. Fish is not all created equal, meaning salmon, we just did a demonstration with salmon. We want the salmon sort of medium rare, right? Snapper, you can't do that medium rare. Snapper needs to be cooked through, but not overcooked. And so what I mean by that is, what you want to do is you want to be able to cook a piece of snapper or a piece of halibut, grouper, anything like that. You want to cook it through to where it flakes really nice, but you don't want to overcook it because it does get too dry. And if you undercook it, it's just going to seem rubbery. Where salmon, on the other hand, at medium rare, it flakes beautifully and works fantastic. So, what was the question?
If you had a technique for telling when a fish is done.
Well,
Sounded
on
like
the snapper, you're definitely going to want to see it start to kind of flake apart a little bit. And, you could stick a little knife in there, a little fork, and kind of pull it apart and see. I think that chefs that cook a lot, we use the touch. We kind of get an idea of how long things take. But look at this baby. This is how we do it in Texas right here. Look at that.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that is a natural choice cut.
Okay, back to the dish we're on for a second. What about mango instead of pineapple?
Ooh,
what about grilled mango?
What a great choice. Mango, papaya. I mean, this is so great about this because this whole recipe, you could do that with mango. You could do it with cantaloupe.
Ooh.
You could do it with honeydew. You could do it with all kinds of different melons. I mean, it would be so fantastic. You know what else would be great in this? Avocado.
Oh, definitely.
Nice diced avocado.
And what about on top of a blackened redfish?
For sure. Redfish actually has a very similar texture to snapper. They're kind of cousins, right? So let's check on our snapper here. All right. Okay, so we're getting ready to pull that guy off here. Check it out. I am going to brush that just a little bit with some of my butter. All right.
So can't we have a request?
Yes.
You might want to do this like after or maybe while the steak's cooking, but there's been a request that you maybe show how to cut that pepper one more time.
You know what? I just happen to have
another pepper.
I can do that.
So maybe while that 4-inch steak is cooking.
Perfect.
We will.
In fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to brush a little bit with some more marinade and a little bit of that butter. You can see that piece of fish is looking fantastic in there. Okay, so we're definitely going to get back to the pepper, but first, let me get this steak on the grill because you're correct. It is going to take a little time.
That's a big steak.
It's a big steak.
This is a
ribeye. And by the way, guys, I grew up in Kansas City. My brother and I are both chefs. I know many of you know my brother. He's a chef in Atlanta and has a fantastic steakhouse. So we know steaks. We know meat. My dad was teaching us how to cook this piece of meat and this type of recipe forever, okay? So he used to say, hey, if you start out with good garlic, maybe some onion, good salt and pepper, and a piece of meat, you can't go bad. And he's right. Okay, so that's the simple part of this. So what I have here is I have some whole butter that we're going to use to make our rosemary butter. We have some garlic and shallot, which is going to go right in here just like that. Okay. We have my steak and chop salt, which is going to be right here. And again, by the way, guys, you can buy that at my website at chefkentrathman.com. And if you're in Texas, you can buy it at Central Market. So we're going to use a little seasoning right here. Okay. And we're just going to kind of kick that up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually season this steak really well. So again, I'm going to kind of put just a little bit of this grapeseed oil on here. And I'm going to season this quite heavily. It's a big piece of meat. This thing weighs probably about 22 ounces, okay? And we're going to take it and turn it, just like that. I want to turn it again, make sure it gets some oil on it. Now we're going to season the other side. And, one of the things, and of course I say this in all my classes, but my brother and I like to say, if you leave our house or if you leave our restaurants without swollen ankles, you really haven't had the full effect. So we do like to season heavily, especially a beautiful piece of meat like this. Salt is the cheapest thing in your kitchen to make things taste good. I fully believe that most of the time, the difference between a fantastic meal and one that just tastes great, assuming that everything's cooked the same and the same type of product, seasoning makes a difference. And it's not always salt, but seasoning does make a huge difference, okay? All right, so we got this ready to go, except for one thing. I'm going to get my fish. Let me get my fish here.
So Kent, sometimes you leave the grill up, the lid up, and sometimes you put it down. I mean, Is there a timing on that, or?
That's a good observation. The reason I had it up is because I was trying to kind of pay attention to the fish, but then when I realized it was doing really nice, but it wasn't quite there, I wanted to put the grill lid down to kind of give that oven effect going on. There's no really rhyme or reason. I mean, we cook on open face fires all the time. Most of my restaurants have open face fires, or they have had. And but if you have the addition to the lid, then now you're creating kind of an oven that's roasting, and it's kind of a cool way to go, okay? All right, so the last ingredient on the steak that my dad used was Italian seasoning. I know, crazy, right? Dried herbs. This is something I very, very seldom use. In fact, this is probably the only thing that I use dry herbs on. My brother would be laughing right now because he knows the story. But my dad would say, scrunch this up in your fingers, put it all over one side. Can't do the second side. I don't know why. Can't do the second side. Just one side.
He just told you guys that to see if you'd listen to him.
Well, I'm listening, Dad. Yeah. He hadn't been with us for a while, but I guarantee he's laughing up there right now and watching. All right, so now we have this nice ribeye. We got a little bit of grapeseed oil here. We've got my steak and chop salt all over it. We've got the Italian seasoning kind of crushed up in our fingers on one side, and now we're getting ready to hit the grill. Okay. All right. So now let me give us one more clean right here. Get our fish stuff out of the way. And here we go.
So, Ken, if you're allergic to garlic, or you just don't like garlic, which that I don't understand.
I am so sorry.
You can still get a good steak without garlic on there, can't you?
Well, you can. Yes.
But is there a substitute that would help for those people that can't have garlic?
Actually, I know people that are allergic to garlic and onions. Guys, I'm so sorry. It is so hot out here. And there is no breeze, nothing. So I hope you guys in Denver, and I hope you're on the coast in Miami loving this. Okay. Anyway, yeah, for sure. I mean, garlic is definitely a great flavor. It adds a lot to a lot of foods, but I know a lot of people that are allergic to it, that don't like it. It doesn't set well with them, whatever. And so I would say that just skip it. And on my seasonings, there is garlic in the garlic chop salt and the lemon pepper. So you could use maybe the barbecue spice, which has less garlic, or you could just use salt and pepper. I mean, just salt and cracked pepper, no problem. Okay, remember our butter here? We have our rosemary butter, so I have some warm butter here, and you can see.
You have some melted butter.
Okay, you can see how hot it is out here. Wow. Okay, so I just stripped my rosemary twig here. All right, and we don't ever want to use this because this is kind of bitter and it's not that nice. So you're getting ready to pour some red.
I'm getting you some red.
Awesome. Yeah, so we got a nice bottle of, what is that, Cab?
Cab.
That he sent? Nice bottle of Red Mare Cab that I cannot wait to try with this ribeye. In fact, I am going to close our lid here, get that going. And so we're going to just chop up the rosemary, and this just came out of my garden actually. By the way, Jerry, you talk about your mom in Kansas City having her garden and all that.
Yep.
Ask the question to the audience: How many of them chime in that have a garden? Who's growing?
Okay. Who has gardens out there, folks? Let's hear from you.
Sure, we're going to get some good jokes from Colorado.
So, Kent, if you're cooking this steak in the oven, or you don't have, how long should you put on the stovetop first to get a little sear on it first? What's your?
That's a great question. So there is, by the way, I just chopped that rosemary up and just stirred it right into the butter. Okay, just like that. And I am going to add one other thing to this. No, I'm not. I was going to add a lemon, but I'll skip that. Okay, so so cooking the steak on a cast iron skillet, beautiful. Here's the process. So nice hot skillet, canola oil, seasoned steak goes into the skillet. Okay, turn it once it's got a really nice crust on one side, turn the whole thing over, and then take that whole skillet and throw it in the oven at about 450 to 500 degrees. Okay, what you'll get is this fantastic roasted steak that is roasted in a cast iron skillet. It's roasted in the oven. It'll be crisp on the outside. It'll be delicious. Don't overcook it. That is the main thing. So, Jerry, I know there's probably going to be questions about, well, how long should you cook it? I wish I could tell you. There's no real answer to deciding how long to cook a piece of meat or fish. You just have to kind of understand how long it's been on, how it's doing, what's it feel like, and let me show you a little trick. So, if you grab your fingers right here, and it's pretty funny to think that, like, there's people all over America right now, doing this with us. So imagine this being sort of a medium rare to rare feel, right? It's got a lot of flexibility. It's pliable. It's kind of squishy, right? And then as you climb up your finger a little bit, it starts to kind of get a little bit more firm. This is sort of a technique that we teach people that aren't chefs, because I want you to understand that a piece of rare meat is going to have this feel. A piece of medium meat is going to get more firm, and a piece of well-done meat is going to get downright hard, okay? And so you don't want to do that. Don't let it get to a point where you've overcooked it, because, as an example, that steak right there is a $40 piece of meat. So you don't want to overcook it, and you want to make sure you season it well, and you want to enjoy it, right?
You can always put it back on. You can't take it back off.
For sure. You can always put it back on.
Right.
Okay. Are we ready to do the pepper
And then is
trick?
there a preference for reverse sear or searing first? Do you have?
Yeah, so the reverse sear, a lot of people talk about that. I think it's a cool technique. I don't do a lot of it because I'm a purist, and I just started cooking when I was a kid, and I've never stopped. But the reverse sear is this, okay? So the reverse sear is you sous vide a piece of meat, or you kind of roast it slow, okay? And then at the very end, man, it gets this super hard sear on the outside, and that's it. And this is a really cool technique. A lot of people that do sous vide meat, this is the way we do it. We'll sous vide a piece of meat. It'll be medium rare when it comes out. It'll be at temperature. And then you'll take that piece of meat and just sear it on a super, super hot grill. So that's a little bit of a reverse sear, okay? The other thing, too, that's kind of cool is the caveman style. You know what that is?
Raw?
No, it's like it's like cooking the meat like dead on the coals, like right on the wood.
Huh?
Like the wood's on fire, you got coals going, you got fire going, and you drop that piece of meat right in the coals. Okay, and what sounds crazy is pretty damn tasty. It's pretty good.
And how
All right.
long should you have seasoning on that meat? And should it sit out before, like, get to room temperature?
Yeah.
What's your rule on that?
So that's a great question. So let me answer the first one first. So you want to season meats that have a lot of salt in the seasoning. You want to do that right before you cook, okay? Because if you put the seasoning on too far out in advance, it starts to dry the meat out, and that's not what you want, okay? Remember that that's how we cure meats. We soak it in salt water, we cover it in salt, we cure it, right? So if you put salt on a piece of meat and you let it sit in your fridge for 3 or 4 hours, it's going to start to pull the moisture out, okay? So season right before you go. Second thing is, what was the second question?
If you want it room temperature, how long set out before you?
So that's a little bit of a wives' tale, okay? And so let me say this: if you have a really nice grill, you got a really nice wood grill, a gas grill, and it's really hot, and you got 4 or 5 steaks that come out of the refrigerator, that grill's going to look at those steaks and laugh at them, cook them up, and you're not going to have a problem. Now, you had that same grill, and you had 30 ice cold steaks. Now you got a problem. Because now what's happening is you're putting all those steaks on that hot grill, and it's cooling down the grill, and the grill cannot simply react and recover fast enough to get the right sear. So there is a little bit of truth to that, but only really if you're cooking a lot of meat on a small grill or you're covering the grill. You know what I mean? Let me go take a peek here at our steak. Oh yeah, now we're going. Oh yeah, that is looking good. You guys see that? Awesome. I'm gonna leave that up while I kind of watch it. Okay, we're gonna do a pepper.
Okay.
Right? We got a couple of minutes on this. Our butter is done and nicely melted. Okay. And let me get the platter for the steak real quick.
While you're doing that, what about, are you a fan of CBD butter?
Yeah. I've used a lot of CBD products. I've used it.
That must be a Denver question.
Well, Denver, Dallas. I mean, How are we doing so far, guys?
We have a lot of gardens.
Oh, we're a little late. I hope everybody's still with us. Okay, we're about to finish up though, I promise. So we're going to cut the end off. We're going to cut the other end off. And we're going to end up with this nice flat edge on both sides, okay? Then we're going to come to the edge of the board. And we do this because I can't get the knife flat right here because it hits my fingers. But back here, I can get the knife flat against the pepper. So you want the pepper held flat with the knife against the cutting board. So see how this is right here? And then all you're going to do is you're just going to roll this right out. Just like that. It's that simple. Look at that. Not a seed to be found. This goes in the trash. That's it. That's worth the price of admission right there. Everybody should just donate $25 to the American Heart Association just for that. Okay? All right. Now, one more thing, though. Remember that even this pepper is still kind of thick. So what we want to do is we want to shave a little bit more out here so that we can get that first dimension pretty thin so that the rest of the dimension we have control over when we cut our julienne, right? So now look at how thin that is. Okay, we've taken nearly half of the meat out of that, okay? And now all we're going to do is we're just going to come in. We're just going to cut just like that. That's what we're looking to do right there, okay? All right, now, by the way, this is a technique that if you are in my kitchen, you better learn it quick because that's the way we work right there, okay? So now you got a julienne, and then you can go back and do a nice dice right there. Check it out. Okay? Pretty, right? All right, let's see what we got here.
We got questions coming in like crazy.
Okay.
One quick back to a fish. Cooking fish without a skin on it. Pointers.
Yep. Pointers?
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, more fish is probably cooked without skin than with skin, okay? It's going to be tough to cook that trout fillet without skin because they're so thin And the meat is so delicate that you really need to have the skin to kind of hold the meat together. But the skin's so thin, and it's almost like nothing. And by the way, if you don't like it, it peels right off. Okay, so it's not a problem. But for sure, we cook fish without skin all the time. The main thing about cooking fish on a grill, saute pans are easier because you can control the heat much easier. You can put the oil in there. On a grill, you remember we cleaned the grill really well and then we oiled the grill. That's super important. Remember one other thing, the marinade. What was the main ingredient in the marinade?
Oil.
Oil. So the marinade's got a lot of flavor, but in itself, the marinade is a little oily, okay? All right, so let me take a look at the steak here. Oh my goodness, that's looking good. I think I do want to brush it again.
So if you're we have somebody here that likes to prepackage their steaks to sous vide them.
Right.
And then freeze them. Should they season before they freeze or season before they cook it?
Absolutely not.
So not in the sous vide bag. Absolutely
not. Now, if you're interested in marinating that piece of meat with sort of maybe a cilantro marinade or something like that, then that's a good idea. But remember that marinades are dangerous too in terms of length of time. If you have a marinade that's got a lot of wine in it, if you have a marinade that's got a lot of citrus in it, what are you doing?
Cooking.
You're cooking, okay? I tell people all the time, if you have marinades that have a lot of sodium or a lot of acid or both, be very careful how long that marinade stays on the meat or fish. It's fine to do it, but eventually that marinade, the properties in the marinade, whether it's lime juice or wine or vinegar or whatever, it will start to cook the fish, it will start to cook the meat, and it becomes less than what it should be, right? And so I say, if you're going to freeze a piece of meat, freeze it carefully, make sure it's covered really good and cryovac, freeze it flat, let it thaw out slowly, and once it's thawed out, then marinate it, and then season it right before you cook. Fair enough?
How hot is that grill going on over there?
That's it's pretty hot. I can feel it on my back. If the lid were down, that thing would be running about 600 degrees right now. So it's a hot grill for sure.
Okay, now this is a question that I know is a very tough one to answer, but how long do you finish a steak off in the oven?
Well, again, it's kind of the same thing. You kind of have to understand how long it's going to take. I'm going to let that thing start to rest. Oh, what are we doing?
We want to hook them.
Oh, we want to hook them? Oh,
yeah, we need to hook them from you.
Oh, okay. Go Texas. All right. So the answer is the same as the grill, right? I mean, it's like every piece of meat is different because some of it's thicker, thinner. A different piece of meat cooks different. So a strip cooks different than a fillet. A fillet cooks different than a pork chop. Similar, but they all have different properties. The grills are hotter in some places. They're colder in some places. It's not really about that tell-all answer about how long does it take. It's really understanding that it's okay for you as a cook to practice a bit. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's say you go out and get yourself a ribeye. It's an inch thick. It's a beautiful ribeye. You got your grill up. It's cranking at 550, 600 degrees. You note all that. You say, okay, I got an inch thick ribeye. I'm cooking at 600 degrees. I put it on. I time it. 4 minutes later, I quarter it. A minute later, I turn it. 2 minutes later, I'm checking the temp, okay? So if you check it and it's still a little rare, then make a note of that, okay? And then what will happen is you'll start to kind of understand what it feels like, what it looks like, the timing of it, because we can't cut every steak in a restaurant open to see if it's right. We can't do that. So what we do is we rely on our experience and our knowledge, and the only way you're going to get that experience is to do a little trial and error. So you kind of have to do it kind of like a science project, right? So you need to document everything you're doing. It's 1 inch thick. It's cooking at 600 degrees. I cooked it for 3 minutes, quartered it, cooked for another minute, quartered it, or turned it, blah, 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 whatever that is. And then was it a success or was it not? Do one thing for me, though. Check before it gets done. Don't overcook it, okay? Look early and look often, okay? And then you go, Okay, I got 1 more minute and I'm going to be perfect. Okay, now the other thing too is, you see what I'm doing up here now? I'm resting the meat. So I pulled the meat off of the grill. Remember earlier, we took the middle of the grill and turned it down to low when we were cooking the fish. Remember that? What's in there now is a burner that's on the right side and on the left side, and on the middle it's down and low. So now that steak is sitting up there sort of resting. This is a very important thing about steaks, okay? Steaks, any kind of chop, any kind of big piece of meat, turkeys, you want to rest your turkey for 20 or 30 minutes before you cut it at Thanksgiving. Do you ever do that?
Oh, always.
Yeah,
always.
you have to.
Always.
If you don't, you got juice and turkey juice all over the place, okay? A piece of meat that's rested will relax. It will have a different mouthfeel. It will taste more tender to you. It will be more tender to you. And when you cut it, it will retain its juices, which is so, so important, okay? You don't want the juices on the cutting board. You want the juices in the turkey, okay? So if you cut it too early, what happens is they literally will push their own juices out of themselves, okay? So I think we got to wrap this. I think we've been over an hour. Are we over an hour?
Yes.
I think we are. Well, let me get the steak. Let's see where we're at on this bad boy. Nice and charred. Oh, yeah. So now what we're going to do is I am going to just slice this guy out a little bit.
How about using the broiler for a steak in your oven?
Used to do it all the time. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so broilers are great. Now, broilers tend to get, look at that, right on the money. Yeah, baby. That is nice. So we're going to set that right up there. We're going to do this right here. Nice and... Now, see, I want to show you. This is just a little bit of juice, but that's what we're looking for. We don't want the juices to run all over the cutting board, okay? So we're going to wipe this up. All right. And then we're going to use a little bit of our butter here.
Your butter sauce?
Yeah. Now, by the way, if this... Oh, my God. What are you doing in Denver? Because I'm going to tell you right now, in Texas, we are melting butter, okay? Wow. That is hot. Okay, so now we have a nice rosemary butter over our steak. And that's the way we're going to serve that. And, man, I tell you, I'm kind of glad this is going where it is because I'm about ready to get in my pool over there. Listen, I want to say thank you to everybody who came on. I hope you enjoyed the class. I hope that these folks liked what they did with me, and I hope that we get to do this again. I can't wait to cook in the fall when it's 75 degrees out here, and I can cook out here and not be so overwhelmed and hot. And we got lots of cool things to cook in the winter too, right? Fall and winter. I mean, I got this cool outside oven over here. I got the Lynx Smart Smoker. We have all kinds of cool recipes. If you liked what you saw tonight, shoot an email. I don't know what they need to do. Do they like it? What do they do? I don't even know. How do they do that?
I'm not sure, but
Anyway.
they could always email you and give you a big thumbs up. You're getting a lot of big thumbs up over here, by the way, Kent.
Well, I'm giving you thumbs up for being here. Thank you for the support of the American Heart Association. Most of all, if you liked what you saw, send an email to the guys that you got this information from, and let's do this again when it cools off. Thanks a lot from Dallas. Appreciate it, Miami. Appreciate it, Dallas, Houston, and Denver. Love all you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy. And remember, if you need these spices or these knives, chefkentrathman.com. Check it out.
And by the way, Kent, they said they're very comfortable in Colorado. Just heads up.
I'm sure they are. Sure they are. I'm going to take a bite, but you know what? They're not eating this. Oh, my gosh.